everybody. It's the Dead Time Radio Show. Thanks for joining us today. I'm here with my friend Billy. How are you today?
Hi, everybody. I'm doing good, Dawn. It's good to be back. This is a season 2 we are starting right now.
Yeah, super awesome.
It's pretty cool. I'm excited. I want to thank everybody that actually listened to us.
Yes.
And I hope you guys are enjoying the show. We got some cool stuff this season that we want to talk about. And before we get started, Dawn, what's our email?
TheDeadTimeRadio@gmail.com.
That's right. We also have a phone number if you want to call and leave a message.
We'll give you our digits.
Our digits. Ladies, call me.
Digits.
843-492-7966. I'm single and ready to mingle. Leave a story, anything you want. Leave us messages, whatever. Also, make sure that you click like and subscribe on the YouTube buttons. Hit the little bell, and you'll get notifications when you have new shows. And if you really like what we're doing, you can donate to us. You can become a patron. Just click on the button on the Podbean app, become a patron, and send us some cash if you want. We have some really cool ideas that we're working on that we wanted to bring before we start tonight's show. Dawn, tell them about our awesome packages that we're talking about here.
Okay, so the first package is $20, and you get this awesome shirt that says the Dead Time Radio Show.
Stand up and show them the back.
Okay.
Stand about right here. There you go. Look at that. That's some high quality merch right there.
Merch.
Merch.
Awesome, guys. So then the second package is going to be, I'm going to be doing a 30-minute reading, and you also receive a shirt. I forgot how much we said that was going to be.
I believe it was 60. Was it 60?
I don't remember. I didn't write it down.
We'll get back to you on the prizes for that, but basically...
The 30-minute reading and t-shirt, and then the second one is an hour reading and either 1 or 2 t-shirts. So
now the cool thing about it too is the reading, if you want to, you can actually have us record it, and we can either play it on the show, or you could, either way, you can get a recording. We will mail you the recording however you want it, so you can share it with your friends. But if you feel like you want it to be on the show and stuff like that, more than welcome, more than happy. That would be kind of cool to have an episode listening to Dawn read your tarot cards. So with that said, what are we talking about today, Dawn?
We are first episode of season 2. We're going to be talking about demon possessions and exorcisms. So the actual act of the possession, and then what they have to do to remove the demon. So it's going to be...
That sounds fun. Cool. What if you want to keep your demon, though? What if he's, pretty cool?
Then you don't need to show it to anyone, because it seems like most of the time the family members are the ones that are telling on you that you have a demon inside you. So
that could be subjective. What if somebody's just an asshole?
Well, some of the stories, they're saying there actually weren't demons. They actually murdered people that had, microorganisms that were inside their brain that was not diagnosed, or seizure disorder, because back in the day, they didn't know that was a demon. It was a demonic possession, because you fall over and you start posturing and flopping around. So there's
weird.
A lot of times where it was misdiagnosed, so...
A misdiagnosis of demonic possession.
Well, your parent
just had to take a poop. That's all he had to do.
He did, yes. Exorcism of the fecal matter. We
have to figure out what a demonic possession is. So we're going to go to one of the sites that...
His favorite.
I don't really care for, but Dawn likes to use it, and that's why we're going to use it.
Well, I just felt like there should be a definition, so Wikipedia...
Yeah. That's probably one of the better,
we could do Merriam-Webster if you wanted to not do Wikipedia.
It's all good. I'm good with it.
Okay.
Wikipedia says demonic possession involves the belief that a spirit, demon, or other entity can control a person's actions. Those who believe themselves to be possessed commonly claim that symptoms of demonic possession include missing memories, perceptual distortions, loss of a sense of control, and hypersuggestibility. Erica Borginon, I don't even know how to pronounce that, found in a study of 488 societies worldwide that 74% believed in spirit possession, with the highest numbers of believing societies in Pacific cultures and the lowest incidence among Native Americans of both North and South America. So that's interesting that Native Americans wouldn't believe it as much, considering they're very spiritual.
Right.
It's very weird. So do we want to get into what the Abrahamic religions say, or shall we move forward?
I think Catholic is probably the highest one, because the Catholicism are the ones that do the actual exorcisms.
Right.
You call a Catholic priest, and then the priest has to be, they have to actually be certified. They are actually, this year they've offered 250 more slots of people to be trained to exorcise demons in the Catholic Church. So
we might as well read what some of these religions have to say about it. The Catholic Encyclopedia, this is Judaism, but somehow they want the Catholic Encyclopedia in there, which is weird, says that there's only one apparent case of demonic possession in the Old Testament, of King Saul being tormented by a quote-unquote evil spirit. But it relies on an interpretation of the Hebrew word ruah as evil spirit, an interpretation that is doubted by the Catholic Encyclopedia. In addition, Saul was only described to be tormented rather than possessed, and he was relieved from these torments by having David play the lyre to him.
What's a lyre?
It's like a guitar, like a small, it looks like a small,
like
almost like a mandolin.
Okay.
If I remember correctly, it's got a big bowl bottom.
Oh.
I could be wrong. I'm me, the musical instrument fucking aficionado, and I don't know what a lyre looks like. I don't know. Well, we can click on it and find out.
See, it's blue.
A lyre.
It's not a lyre.
Is an ancient Israelite musical instrument in the lutes family. So it's a lute. That's a lyre.
Is that the thing? Okay.
That's a lyre right there. Okay. So now we got that out of the way.
Cool.
Let me see. So David played a lyre to him. Some theologians, such as Angel Manuel Rodriguez, say that mediums like the ones mentioned in Leviticus were possessed by demons. Another possible case of demonic possession in the Old Testament includes the false prophets that King Ahab relied upon before recapturing Ramoth Gilead in 1 Kings 22. They were described to be empowered by a deceiving spirit. Yeah. Catholics, Christianity has held that possession derives from the devil, in other words, Satan, his lesser demons, the fallen angels. And there's a difference between devils and demons, though.
Yes, totally.
Big difference.
Yes.
In the battle between Satan and heaven, one of Satan's strategies is to possess humans. The New Testament mentions several episodes in which Jesus drove out demons from persons. Whilst most Christians believe that demonic possession is an involuntary affliction, there are biblical verses that suggest that demon possession is voluntary. An example of this is Judas Iscariot, who fell under the devil's possession in John 13:27 because he continually agreed to the devil's suggestions to betray Jesus and wholly submitted to him.
I did not know that.
That's Christianity. Catholicism differentiates between ordinary satanic demonic activity or influence, mundane everyday temptations, and extraordinary satanic demonic activity, which can take 6 different forms, ranging from complete control by Satan or demons to voluntary submission. 6 different forms. 1. Possession in which Satan or demons take full possession of a person's body without their consent. This possession usually comes as a result of a person's actions that lead to an increased susceptibility to Satan's influence.
What would that be?
I don't know. Maybe drugs.
You ask them to? Like,
do drugs.
Are you like depressed and you're just like, I can't take this anymore, and need some help?
Maybe. Could be. But that's without their consent.
And Satan says, I can help you.
So it could be stuff like alcohol or drugs things like that. Obsession, which includes sudden attacks of irrationally obsessive thoughts, usually culminating in suicidal ideation, and which typically influences dreams. Oppression, in which there is no loss of consciousness or involuntary action, such as in the biblical book of Job, in which Job was tormented by Satan through a series of misfortunes in business, material possessions, family, and health. Now, I just watched a video earlier today. It was a really interesting video about the whole thing about the origin of Satan. Don't
Was it
ask
on
me why.
Amazon?
No, it was on YouTube.
Okay.
It was really cool. I didn't finish it because I was busy doing stuff. But
So who was it written by? Was it written by somebody that knows the stuff, or just somebody?
it was a guy who's a hardcore theologian. He's really smart, and he was talking about Satan is actually a Hebrew word for opponent or the accuser. And he talks about how we're about to go on a tangent.
Oh, here we go. Come join us.
All of the
Hold my hand. Here
in the Old Testament, he's part of the divine council. There's passages in Job and stuff like that where they're talking about he was like the prosecutor in the trial,
right,
type of thing. So he's the accuser. He's the one that actually puts the doubt in there, and it somehow evolved into Satan being the fallen angel, being Lucifer. It was fascinating video, and I'll have to let you watch it one of these days, and you can tell me what you think. I mean, I find all of this fascinating, but the one thing, this is the one movie that scared the living shit out of me my whole life because I grew up as a Catholic.
What was it?
The Exorcism.
Oh yeah.
The Exorcist.
The Exorcist.
Holy shit! That's the only movie that scared the shit out of me. That's Poltergeist.
Is it?
Yeah.
Wrong one. Okay, this is where she spit pee.
This is where she's spitting pea soup.
Around.
She's putting a crucifix up her hoo-ha.
For JJ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her head turns around.
Yeah, I
and then the
remember
priest
that
jumps
now.
out the window.
Okay, the freakiest part is when she's walking down the stairs.
Yeah.
Is that the one? Where she's backwards?
Yeah, I think
doing
so.
The weird.
Where she's lifting the bed up with her brain. That movie scared the crap out of me.
Yeah.
Because I believe this shit can happen, that there really is demonic possession. There's no other way around it. I don't want to read any more of these religions because it's kind of stupid that they go that far.
Well, we got to finish the other three. The external.
Let's see. So the Book of Job.
You did the oppression one.
4 is external physical pain caused by Satan or demons. 5, infestation, which affects houses, objects, things, or animals. And 6, subjection, in which a person voluntarily submits to Satan or demons. Now, this infestation thing reminds me of another old movie that didn't scare me as much, but it was still pretty scary. The Amityville Horror. Remember how that...
Okay.
Did you ever see that movie?
I think a long time ago.
Do you remember the house always had flies in the windows?
Okay, I have a story about flies.
And there was a priest that went in there to bless the house, and the flies attacked him.
Yeah, the demons. I have a story about flies.
Oh, tell me. Do tell.
Okay. So my friend Dee, hi Dee, she lived in Ormond Beach, and she's like, I really can't sleep at night. There's something in my house. There's stuff going on. There's stuff, weird stuff happening. So I was like, okay, we're going to come down and we're going to see you. So I brought all my stuff to basically cleanse her house. Okay. So we got there. It was late. We drove all the way down. Florida takes a hot minute to get there. So we're standing around. I have a black candle and a white candle lit. And I'm like, I'm tired. We're just going to do this in the morning. So Dee is like about where you are, and she blows out the black candle. The black wax flies from that candle and hits me in the eye.
What?
So it pisses me off, and I'm like, fuck this.
What?
We're going to do it right now. So, I get all my stuff out. I start staging. You start in a certain part of the house, and I start coming around. Well, then there's these flies that just materialize. So you're supposed to kill the fly, take the body out the exit door, which is the last door that you end up around.
Right.
So I swear I killed 16 flies. I'm not kidding you. And there were no flies in this house. But when I started saging the rooms, there were 5 flies that would go to each window and just try to get out. So you have to kill the fly, carry it out the front door or the end door.
That's trippy.
So there were no flies. So it was wicked. So she said after that her house was clean, but she had a area where she kept her lawnmower out in the backyard.
Yeah.
She could hear stuff moving out there. They were fucking, we had moved them out of the house.
So they're trying to get back in.
Yes, we had cleansed the house.
That's weird.
So, yeah.
Trippy.
With the flies, yeah. I've experienced the flies. They freak you out because they come out of nowhere. They just materialize.
Yeah. That's what the Amityville Horror was like, creepy because of that. And that was like the same movie where they showed like apparently like blood was pouring, like leaking out of the walls.
Down the wall, yeah.
That was such a good movie. When I was...
Oh, and another thing at the end, after I was done, we left. I usually use an abalone shell with the sage in it and take the feathers and, do each corner, and then you're saying your prayer aloud. Mm-hmm. So we laid it on the ground at the front door that we were letting everything out. So the next morning, I pick up my abalone shell. You're not going to believe this. There was a pentagram on the ground under the abalone shell, just a teeny tiny one. And she said, did you draw that on my floor before you put that down there? I said, I didn't do that at all.
That's awesome.
I wouldn't draw a pentagram on the floor, but it was under the abalone shell that had the sage.
That's cool.
Isn't that cool?
That is cool.
It can all be verified by D.
That's pretty cool.
That was wicked.
Hey, D, if you're listening to the show, send us an email.
Yes, please.
Saying, yes, that really happened.
Yeah, totally.
Now I forgot what I was going to say. I hate when I do that.
You were talking about the flies. That was the scariest part, was the flies that was in the movie. Yeah,
that was fucking creepy. Oh, I remember what it was. A little history of me back when I was, beautiful and had long hair and was in a rock band and all this other stuff. There was a band, one of my favorite, still talk to some of these guys. They were great guys. The band's name was A Pig Named Jody. And if you remember in Amityville Horror, the little boy who lived up in the attic, that was his best friend. And it was the demon. It was like some demon. Dude. And he talked about it was a pig with red eyes, and he named him Jody. Yeah, I love that. That's some cool stuff. Those guys were awesome. I miss those guys. I miss those times. We had fun playing out together.
Hey, write in.
Yeah, write in.
Say, hey, what's happening? We're listening to your show. We love it.
TheDeadTimeRadio@gmail.com. All right. Well, let's move on. Because I think we kind of know what demonic possession is. I think it's like what a lot of people understand it.
Let's talk about just the four. The manifestation of superhuman strength.
Yeah.
So they're stronger than like these little ladies that are possessed have like meth guys' strength that, that can throw off like...
retard strength.
No. Please don't get us shut down. You need to take that back. Speaking in tongues or languages that the victim cannot know. Revelation of knowledge, distant or hidden, that the victim cannot know. So that means that somebody telling you a secret of yours that no one knows. Blasphemous rage, obscene hand gestures, using profanity, and aversion to holy symbols and names, relics, or places.
Don, then I might be possessed.
I know, I was just thinking about that.
Because I use profanity all the time.
And hand gestures.
And hand gestures.
Profanity. And holy symbols.
Fuck you!
No. So, yeah, that's... So then the people that come in on meth could be construed.
No, they're on meth. They're not possessed.
I know what I'm saying. Back in the day, they had superhuman strength.
They're just tweakers.
Truth.
Maybe that's what it was. Like a lot of people were on drugs and they were doing hallucinogenic drugs. And then, of course, the religious people were like, he's possessed by a demon. We need to exorcise his demon.
That's not how they talk.
How do you know how people from old talk or not?
They talk to their nose. I don't think they talk to...
I think they did.
No.
Every time I look at them, I think of that.
Maybe they did have... It sounded like you had a clip on your nose. So maybe they did because it was like shit everywhere in the road.
Exactly. It smelled like...
It smelled really bad back in the day.
Everywhere.
Yeah. Human and horse.
They didn't have TP. And it smelled like urine. It was probably very acrid with ammonia in the air.
Because the pee?
Like Paris. It probably smelled like Paris. Okay.
In summer.
In summer. So now we have an idea of what demonic possession is. Let us talk about, let's look at this one first. So this person said that they could see demons. I want to see this because this is something that Dawn found at work. And let's see. Amy Stamatis was left paralyzed below the waist after she plunged from the second story of her Searcy home onto a brick patio in November 2006. The circumstances of the incident were unusual. Stamatis had climbed into an open window and was sitting on the sill when she fell. She insists that she did not jump. But for months beforehand, Stamatis had been struggling with dark thoughts. She had heard voices telling her to kill herself and sought treatment from doctors and psychiatrists. The voices didn't stop. Stamatis believed she was going through a mental breakdown. After her fall, she was lying in a hospital bed when she was visited by a woman who claims to have raised the dead and healed the terminally ill through prayer. The woman saw something in Stamatis that no one else had. She saw demons.
Did she ask her to give her $5,000?
Right?
And then she was going to exorcise the demons?
Was her name Miss Cleo?
Yes. Her name was Miss Cleo.
Stamatis began experiencing strange ailments 7 months before her fall. She was wrapping up a 24-hour shift as a med-flight nurse at Baptist Health Medical Center in Little Rock when she was tasked with treating a burn patient. After wheeling him in on a stretcher and completing a report, she found herself wandering the halls of the emergency room aimlessly.
Oh.
She had suddenly forgotten how to do her job. After I took care of him, my mind went out the window. So did she, apparently. Wah, wah. Stamatis said, I was just blank. That was her final shift at the hospital. Stamatis, a marathon runner, went home and was unable to run straight. She couldn't even perform simple tasks like picking out her clothes. Sounds to me like she had some type of disease.
From the burn patient.
Yeah.
Because she had treated the burn patient.
Maybe the burn patient was a demon.
Maybe.
From the pits of hell.
Yeah. So
from
that was
the abyss.
So she breathed in the demon that was trying to burn her.
Right. Stamatis told her husband she was having a nervous breakdown, which began a string of visits to doctors and psychiatric hospitals. She was diagnosed with different mental illnesses. Stamatis said that doctors prescribed her antidepressants like they were candy. But the voices continued and her behavior became unpredictable. She stripped out of her clothes at a family gathering with her in-laws. During visits to the hospital, she yelled at her former co-workers.
The stripping out of your clothes sounds like a normal in-law.
That sounds like every motherfucking person comes into the ER on the weekend.
That's true. Sir, please keep your clothes on. We're going down the hall. Sir.
Right?
Please.
Please don't touch your junk.
No one wants to see that.
Sir, please don't pull out the catheter.
Yeah.
A particularly tense episode happened when Stamatis and her husband traveled to the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota looking for specialized treatment. While there, she broke away from doctors and climbed 7 or 8 stories up to the edge of a parking ramp and threatened to jump. Police and her husband talked her down, but the voices continued. I like this. I could see demons. The Downtown Church of Christ in Searcy held a prayer service for Stamatis after she fell. Among those in attendance was Cindy Lawson, a Pentecostal evangelist who has performed about 10 exorcisms. Pentecostals call them demon castings, but the rite is fundamentally the same. Lawson was not a member of the Church of Christ and had never met Stamatis, but she heard what happened and felt compelled to visit her. The power of Christ compels you.
That's exactly what she said to her.
The Lord spoke to me and told me to go to the hospital to cast the demons out of her, Lawson said. I could feel something churning.
She had a southern accent?
Yeah, well, she's from Arkansas. Stamatis had broken her back in 3 places, punctured both lungs, and broken her ribs. She said the injuries indicate that she did not brace herself for impact. Well, no shit. None of the bones in her arms and legs were broken. Lawson said that when she arrived at the hospital, Stamatis was wide-eyed. I could see the demons, Lawson said. A friend of Stamatis told her that Lawson was there to pray over her. According to Lawson, Stamatis or something inside her growled in response. Why are you here? Stamatis snarled. Lawson brought out anointing oil and wiped it across Stamatis' forehead. Lord, in the name of Jesus, I command that these demons release her and come out of her, and that she comes to her right mind in Jesus' name. I'm waiting for the thunder. Lawson commanded, right? Stamatis' facial expression changed. The Spirit of the Lord fell into that room, Lawson recalled. Symptoms associated with demonic possession, convulsions, hysteria, erased memories, can look very similar to the symptoms of conditions like epilepsy and schizophrenia. Yeah. Who's to say that it isn't?
No one. She was never diagnosed.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe she did have that. Maybe she really wasn't possessed. She was just fucking crazy.
Well, I mean...
had like a mental breakdown. Maybe that burn victim snapped something in her subconscious because, you know what I mean? Like, it was so traumatic to see them that maybe it just, like, subconsciously her brain shut down.
Yep.
It doesn't always have to be a demonic possession, you know? That shit. How many things have we seen in our career that you just can't believe that you can come back to work the next day.
Countless.
You know?
Yep.
I mean, it's crazy. I could totally see a mental breakdown in there.
Oh, yeah.
Easily.
That lady that we did the other day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. That's just too much for somebody to handle. I agree. Well, your mind just splits because
Right.
you can't handle it, so you compartmentalize, and you're just like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So here's another one. Oh, God, CNN. When exorcists need help, they call him. So this guy is apparently an exorcist. Let's see. A small group of nuns and priests met the woman in the chapel of a house one June evening. Though it was warm outside, a palpable chill settled over the room. As the priests began to pray, the woman slipped into a trance and then snapped to life. She spoke in multiple voices. One was a deep, guttural masculine. Another was a high-pitched. A third spouted only Latin. Now, you remember some people... The Exorcist, we'll probably go to that movie quite a bit because I, even though it scared me, it was a fascinating movie because you remember the younger priest was recording her voice,
Yeah.
and she was speaking another language, but
Right.
what it was backwards English,
Oh, weird.
and he didn't realize that until he played it backwards and heard that it was English, and it was saying stuff like "We are Legion," "We are blah blah blah." Such a fucking fascinating movie.
Weird.
I remember when that movie came out, a lot of people, I'm totally dating myself now, but I don't care. A lot of people don't even realize. Back in the day, there was an R-rated movie, and then there was an X-rated movie.
Yep.
And X-rated was hardcore, not like porn.
No.
Some
like
of it was softcore porn, but it was hardcore. The Exorcist, when it came out, was rated X back in those days.
So that means you had to be over 18 to watch it.
You had to be over 18.
Yeah.
And you couldn't go with a guardian. You had to be 18.
Yeah.
That was the difference with R. R is as long as you had somebody over 18 with you, then you could see the movie. But X, you had to be 18. You couldn't get in if you weren't.
Yeah, so when I saw the Night in the Life of Jimmy Reardon, and that was like NC-17, and my mom bought us tickets, and we all got in. That was my introduction to sexual activity.
Nice.
So there you go.
Nice.
We were not 17.
You know what my introduction to sexual activity was?
What?
Saturday Night Fever.
What?
Saturday Night Fever. Staying alive, staying alive. All right. When holy water was used, she screamed in pain. Leave her alone, you fucking priests, the guttural voice shouted. Stop, you whores. You'll be sorry. Dude, this is like normal talk to me. I mean, this is shit I say every night. You've probably seen this before. A soul corrupted by Satan, a priest waving a crucifix at a snarling woman. Movies and books have mimicked exorcisms so often they've become cliches. But this was an actual exorcism and included a character not normally seen in the traditional drive out the devil script. Dr. Richard Gallagher is an Ivy League educated, board certified psychiatrist who teaches at Columbia University and New York Medical College. Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Totally off tangent here.
Okay, go.
Do you know the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist?
One can give you drugs and one can't give you drugs.
Yes and no. One is actually a medical doctor.
Okay.
I didn't know that.
That's the one that can give you drugs.
Right, and I
is the
believe that's
doctor.
the psychiatrist. Psychologist, they both can give you meds. But a
Okay.
psychiatrist is actually a medical doctor, I think.
Okay.
I'll have to look it back up. But I think
Yeah.
that's something like that. I didn't
Okay.
know that. It's pretty cool, huh? He was part of the team that tried to help the woman. Fighting Satan's minions wasn't part of Gallagher's career plan while he was studying medicine at Yale. He knew about biblical accounts of demonic possession, but thought they were an ancient culture's attempt to grapple with mental disorders like epilepsy. He proudly calls himself a man of science. Yet today, Gallagher has become something else, the go-to guy for a sprawling network of exorcists in the United States. He says demonic possession is real. He says the evidence... Victims suddenly speaking perfect Latin, sacred objects flying off of shelves, people displaying hidden knowledge or secrets about people that they could not have possibly known.
Yeah.
There was one woman who was like 90 pounds soaking wet. She threw a Lutheran deacon who was about 200 pounds across the room. That's not psychiatry. That's beyond psychiatry.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's the superhuman strength.
Gallagher calls himself a consultant on demonic possessions. For the past 25 years, he has helped clergy distinguish between mental illness and what he calls the real thing. He estimates that he's seen more cases of possession than any other physician in the world. Whenever I need help, I call on him, says the Reverend Gary Thomas, one of the most famous exorcists in the United States. The movie The Rite was based on Thomas's work. I haven't seen that movie. Have you? I'm about to check it out now.
Yeah.
He's so respected in the field, Thomas says. He's not like most therapists who are either atheists or agnostics. Gallagher is a big man, 6'5", who once played semi-pro basketball in Europe. He has a gruff, no-nonsense demeanor. When he talks about possession, it sounds as if he's describing the growth of algae. His tone is dry, clinical, matter-of-fact. Possession, he says, is rare, but real.
Like Bueller.
Right?
Bueller.
Right?
Bueller.
I spend more time convincing people that they're not possessed than they are. He wrote in an essay for the Washington Post. So people must go to him and go, I think I'm possessed. And then, no, you're not. You're just a moron.
You need some therapy. Sit down. Let me talk to you about it.
You need some talking, too.
Let's talk about it.
Some critics, though, say Gallagher has become possessed by his own delusions. They say all he's witnessed are cheap parlor tricks by people who might need therapy, but certainly not exorcism. And they argue there's no empirical evidence that proves possession is real. Still, one of the biggest mysteries about Gallagher's work isn't what he's seen, it's how he's evolved. How does a man of science get pulled into the world of demonic possession? His short answer, he met a queen of Satan.
Queen of Satan.
That sounds like a great fucking metal song.
I was going to say, or a metal band.
Yes. Queen
Welcome
of
to
Satan.
the stage! Queen of Satan!
I'm working on it. You're going to be the singer.
I could totally do it.
You got to sing in that voice. You got to be sound like Cookie Monster. I'll make the riffs and you can be like, Queen of Satan.
I'll work on that.
Do you know there's a difference between possessed and possessed, right?
What's possessed? What does that mean?
That was from that movie with Scott Baio back in the 80s. Don't you remember?
Scott Baio?
Yeah. Don't you remember?
I remember Scott Baio, but what movie are you talking about?
Fuck, I can't remember the name of that movie. Somebody, I bet Katie is screaming right now.
I was going to say,
Katie is
screaming in the
right
podcast.
now. Scream
You're
at
going to
it.
get an email.
Send me an email, Katie. I can't remember the name of the movie.
You're going to get an email.
But
Scott Baio.
Scott Baio got like magic powers. He got possessed. He got possessed by some spirit that gave him like telepathy and stuff.
So what's the difference?
I don't know.
You just brought it up.
There's
you said what's the difference in possessed and possession?
Possessed isn't a demon. Possessed is. I don't know.
No.
I just wanted to say the word possessed.
And go on a tangent for 3 minutes. There you go.
That's what happens. You know me.
I do.
A creepy encounter with evil.
Evil.
She was a middle-aged woman who wore flowing dark clothes and black eyeshadow. She was a goth girl.
I was going to say, she's emo?
She could be charming and engaging. She was also part of a satanic cult. Yep, goth girl. She called herself the queen of the cult, but Gallagher would refer to her as Julia, the pseudonym he gave her. The woman had approached her local priest, convinced she was being attacked by a demon. The priest referred her to an exorcist who reached out to Gallagher for a mental health evaluation. Why, though, would a devil worshiper want to be free of the devil? Because one's a demon, one's a devil. There's a difference. She was conflicted, Gallagher said. There was a part of her that wanted to be relieved of the possession. She ended up relieving Gallagher of his doubts. It was one of the first cases he took, and it changed him. Gallagher helped assemble an exorcism team that met Julia in the chapel of a house. Objects would fly off shelves around her. She somehow knew personal details about Gallagher's life. How his mother had died of ovarian cancer. The fact that 2 cats in his house went berserk fighting each other the night before one of her sessions. Julia found a way to reach him even when she wasn't with him, he says. He was talking on the phone with Julia's priest one night, he says, when both men heard one of the demonic voices that came from Julia during her trances, even though she was nowhere near a phone and thousands of miles away. Okay, wait a minute. Was that a satanic priest? Because isn't she in a satanic cult?
That's what they said, yeah.
So he was talking to a satanic priest on the phone? He says he was never afraid. It's creepy, he says, but I believe I'm on the winning side.
So that's probably the strings.
Right. Maybe.
I don't know. Like she knew they were talking about him?
Yeah,
So
I
she
suppose.
came to their house and made their cats crazy?
Right? Maybe. Want to read this one? How a scientist believes in demons.
Demon.
Do you believe in demons? He also insists that he's on the side of science. Follow the science. He says he's a stickler for the scientific method, that it teaches people to follow the facts wherever they may lead. Growing up in a large Irish Catholic family in Long Island, he didn't think much about stories of possession. But when he kept seeing cases like Julia's as a profession, he says his views had to evolve. I don't believe in this stuff because I'm Catholic, he says. I try to follow the evidence. Being Catholic, though, may help. Gallagher grew up in a home where his faith was taken seriously. His younger brother, Mark, says Gallagher was an academic prodigy with a photographic memory who wanted to use his faith to help people. We had a sensational childhood, Mark Gallagher says. My mother and father were great about always helping neighbors or relatives out. Their mother was a homemaker and their father was a lawyer who'd fought in World War II. My father used to walk us proudly into church. He taught us to give back. Gallagher's two ways of giving back: helping the mentally ill, me, as well as the possessed, may seem at odds, but not necessarily for those in the Catholic Church. Contemporary Catholicism doesn't see faith and science as contradictory. Its leaders insist that possession, miracles, and angels exist. But global warming is real, so is evolution, and miracles must be documented with scientific rigor. One of Gallagher's favorite sources of inspiration is Pope John Paul II's encyclical Fides et Ratio on faith and reason. The Pope writes that there can never be a true divergence between faith and reason, since the same God who reveals the mysteries and bestows the gifts of faith has also placed in the human spirit the light of reason. The Church's emphasis on faith and reason can even be seen in the birth of its exorcism ritual. The Rite of Exorcism was first published in 1614 by Pope Paul V to quell a trend of lay people and priests hastily performing exorcisms on people they presumed were possessed, such as victims of the bubonic plague, says the Reverend Mike Driscoll, author of Demons, Deliverance, Discernment, Separating Fact from Fiction about the Spirit World. Now, can you imagine back in the day how many people got exorcised for no fucking reason whatsoever?
Because you had gas.
Yeah. He keeps farting in the kitchen. He's got a demon in him. We gotta exorcise
Them pinto beans.
demon, right? It's not because you're feeding him fucking cabbage every day.
Yeah.
A line in the Rite said that the exorcist should be careful to distinguish between demon possession and melancholy, which was a catch-all for mental illness.
Melancholy?
You got the melancholy. It's like the consumption for your brain.
The melancholy.
You got the melancholy. Driscoll says the Church knew back then that there were mental problems. It said the exorcist should not have anything to do with medicine. Leave that to the doctors.
So the book was written in 1614. So does that mean that it'd been happening forever and somebody just started writing it down? Or does that mean it just started in 1614 around the bubonic plague? Or
no, well, I mean, the Catholics had been around before that, right? So maybe they just had rights, but they never really wrote them down. And so finally somebody started to write it. Right, yeah. Okay. So somebody started to write it because it became, it was an organized religion. So they figured we might as well have a set of standards, because maybe people were doing their different rites and it wasn't successful, or they were like, what's the main reason why we have rules and guidelines? Because somebody does something and somebody gets hurt. Yeah. Right?
Because somebody put Gorilla Glue in their hair. Now they're going to have to put it on the can to not put Gorilla Glue in
Oh, my God. Don't get me started on that.
Yes. You're right. They are not going to put a warning or put something together unless somebody royally messes up.
Exactly. Somebody did something stupid, like shove fucking bees down somebody's throat. The bees will sting the demon out of you. That person died. That's just how it goes.
Or they drown them trying to get the demon out.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Put a pillow over them because they were trying to get the demon out.
Yep. Exactly. All right. Now we're going to look at 10 modern day exorcisms. And, of course, they talk about The Exorcist. And if you've never seen it, you're doing yourself a disservice. You've got to see that movie. It's really good. So, basically, we've all seen Linda Blair, the Exorcist, turning her head like a spinning top, speaking in more tongues than a polyglot at a United Nations conference. But for some, the banishment of an unseen spirit from a human host isn't just the stuff of horror movies, it's real life. All right. You want to read this one? Camille Seenoth. In 2005, Patricia Alves was sentenced to 10 years in prison for the murder of Camille Seanoth in Georgetown, Guyana. Alves ran a spirit church, and many people, mostly women, would come to her for African or Hindu-style exorcisms. During these exorcisms, prayers and ritual beatings were often used to drive off the invading spirits. See, this is why in 1614 the Catholics created a fucking ritual for it.
Because they just beat them out of it.
Right.
Beat the spirits out of it.
However, when Camille Seanoth came asking for exorcism, Alves beat her with an iron bar until she died from her injuries.
What?
She buried the body to hide her mistake, but neighbors alerted the police after seeing a foot sticking out of a mound of earth in her backyard.
Dude.
What the
That's
fuck?
crazy. Why? Okay, first of all, if you're burying a body, try to dig the hole big enough to where the whole body fits in.
Come on,
not
don't be lazy.
Sticking out.
Don't be lazy.
No, because there's going to be a dog that's going to pull it out.
6 feet minimum. That's what we're telling you here. And if you
So
can,
she was possessed, and
rent a
she
wood
went
chipper.
to him for help, and he just beat the crap out of her with an iron bar, and she just died.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Unnamed teenager at the Vatican. Uh-oh. It's hitting close to home.
Unnamed teenager.
Father Gabriel Amorth is the official exorcist for the Diocese of Rome. He claims to have performed over 160,000 exorcisms, but none were bigger than the exorcism he alleges took place within the walls of the Vatican in the year 2000, aided by none other than Pope John Paul II, probably one of my favorite popes ever.
Why?
I was still Catholic when he was still alive, because he was just a great man. A lot of things that he did. And he was loved. He was a loved pope. And some people think he was the last real pope. That was like prophecy. When the last real pope dies is when the world will go into the tribulation.
So that's what we're in right now?
I think so.
Okay.
The exorcism was carried out on a 19-year-old girl after she started to belch insults during an audience with the pope.
She was burping insults? I do that all the time.
I know you do.
You're just like, what the hell, man?
The pope, maybe I need to exercise you.
I need an exorcism. Just don't beat me with an iron rod.
and bury you
And bury me with my
2
toes
feet into the
sticking
ground
out.
with your toes sticking out.
Because Mara's going to be like,
Right? Mara will chew your toes off.
gotta get her out of there.
Yeah.
So I can jump on her face.
Yeah. Lick her head. The Pope allegedly sat with the girl for half an hour. However, according to Amorth, a self-proclaimed Satan buster, he needs to get a t-shirt that says that.
Satan Buster under his jacket.
Yeah.
Just go, wow.
Rip that out.
I'm here, Satan Buster.
Show like a symbol of Satan going like this, and he's got a whip and a cross. I'm
Yep.
a Satan buster.
I would buy one.
Right? I would too. I
totally
think we
buy
should make that shirt.
Satan Buster.
We're going to make that shirt and we're going to sell it to you guys.
I need a pin. Okay, remember that.
The girl remained possessed, and the demon within even had the chutzpah to mutter, "Not even the head of the church can send me away," as the Pope walked off defeated. Wow.
Ooh, I tell you, Satan Buster
Satan Buster obviously
got served.
exactly.
That was a dance off.
That's
and he's
right.
like, you
You
just
got
got
saved.
served.
Yeah. All right.
Pope. Go back to your popedom,
Father Gabriel fucked it up.
dude.
With all that, he's
You
got
went on your
he's got like a
A-ring.
yeah, he's got like a list, right? 160,000. I think he's bragging.
Yeah, I think it's like
I don't think I've ever heard of 160,000 exorcisms
6 inches,
ever.
and it's really just 4, maybe. Maybe it's like, you know how like the guy code where you count how many people you've had sex with. Maybe it's only like
You count from the taint.
16,000, so you take a 0 off.
Count from the taint. That gives you a good another 2 inches.
I'm not gonna. I was gonna go there, but I'm not gonna go. No, thank you. Nope.
Janet Moses.
She has
You would
Moses
think with a name like Moses, she
Yep.
could not be possessed because she's part of Moses' family.
Yep.
In 2007 in New Zealand, a young girl named Janet Moses died from drowning while members of her own family poured water down her throat. 9 people were charged with manslaughter, but this was no unusual case. Moses was killed when a Maori exorcism ceremony called Makutu went horribly wrong. After failing to lift the curse with incantations, karakia in the Maori tongue, her family resorted to throwing water in the girl's face. The ceremony lasted for 3 days, during which time so much water was used it flooded the kitchen. What the fuck is wrong with people? There are conflicting stories concerning where the evil spirit came from. One source says the symptoms of possession materialized shortly after her grandmother passed away. Another says that a Maori elder known as Kaumatua warned the family that until the stone lion stolen by Moses' sister was returned to a nearby pub, her sister would remain possessed. Although the lion was replaced, the young girl continued to act strangely, which led to the performance of the exorcism and, tragically, the young girl's death. Now, you know, there's a lot of stories of people dying from exorcisms.
Yeah.
Because people get a little overzealous.
So in no point did they step away and come back in and go, dude, we just flooded this kitchen.
Right.
Like, there was no logical, well, somebody else will clean that up.
Wow.
I mean, her grandma died. She was in mourning.
Yeah.
Right? So was she like wailing and rolling around?
All I got to say, though, is, yeah, but she should have never stole that lion. She stole the lion. That's what you get.
Dude, I mean, like in college, every sorority steals the opposing schools.
You mess with the lion,
whatever.
You get the horns. Oh, wait, that's a bull.
Meaning Satan. If
Right, I guess. Salvador Dali.
What?
What?
We like Salvador Dali.
Legend has it that the famous artist Salvador Dali underwent an exorcism performed by his close friend Gabriel Maria Berardi. This already sounds like it was some type of drunk thing, or they were on drugs and they're like, dude, you're possessed. You're possessed. I need to exorcise you.
Look at your painting, man.
Right.
Look at you. What's wrong with your painting?
Right. The friar died in 1984, and among his belongings there was a sculpture of Christ on the cross. Before he died, Berardi told his friends that Dali had given that cross to him as thanks for performing in the exorcism on him. 2 art experts have credited Dali with the artwork. However, there are no other records substantiating the event. The two met in France in the 1940s after Berardi had been excommunicated from his religious order. The alleged exorcism took place in 1947. To me, this sounds like they had gay sex.
I was just going to say that.
And they were like, this is an exorcism. Yeah. That does not sound like... I mean, the guy was excommunicated. He's not allowed to give exorcisms. When you get excommunicated, that means you're banished. You're not allowed to perform any rites. You are not a priest.
Right, you're no longer Catholic.
Wow.
And in Catholicism that you can't remarry because you have to get
your first marriage annulled. Yes.
And then you can marry again.
And my mother's going through that right now because
That's crazy.
She's going. She wants to become Catholic. She's never had any organized religion in her life, but she wants to become Catholic. So she's going through all these classes right now.
Why?
Because she wants to be baptized Catholic.
Why?
And she wants to do it. I'm gonna let her do it.
No. You're not letting anybody do anything. But what is her reasoning?
Oh, well, she believes in God, and we've been Catholic, but she just wants to. She just feels it's time for her to actually go to church and stuff.
She's never because of what you're doing?
No, absolutely not. Okay. No. My mom knows. I've been this since I was 16.
Yeah.
She's cool with it, but she has to send a letter to her previous marriage to let them know. That they need to get it annulled.
Otherwise,
she cannot become a Catholic.
She can't become a Catholic,
which is weird.
Because if you are a Catholic,
because she wasn't married in the eyes of the Catholic priest. That's what it is.
Right. So it has to be annulled, which means if you have any children with that first husband, in the eyes of the church, are those not your children?
Yes, they are. They're still your children. My brother's Catholic. He was baptized Catholic, so he's recognized. I was baptized Catholic as well. I was never confirmed. My brother was confirmed, but I was not. But you're
your dad's son.
Yeah, I know.
But this is her first marriage.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm saying if she had kids with that, what would happen?
It'll count.
Okay.
It'll count. It's just the marriage itself that needs to be annulled, just so she can be recognized as a Catholic.
Well, good on her. I hope she
I'm happy for her. She seems very happy. She's enjoying it, and it's cool because her and my dad go do stuff together, and it's so cute.
Cute.
I love my parents. They're awesome.
Yeah, whatever feeds your soul is what you should do. So.
Absolutely.
Whatever route it takes you.
We joke around about stuff, but when it comes to spirituality, you got to do what makes you feel right.
Yep.
And as long as you're not hurting anybody, and it makes you feel complete, then do it, man.
Yep.
Nobody's going to stop you. Nobody should stop you.
Yep.
All right. Number 6, Mauricia Irina Corniche. In 2005, 23-year-old Mauricia, I can't say that name.
Just say
Corniche
Mary.
turned up at a remote Romanian Orthodox monastery in Târgu to visit her brother. Why did I say husband?
Same thing.
She was quickly welcomed into the fold, but then started to giggle during Mass. Ooh, that's a no-no. Eventually, doctors at a local psychiatric hospital diagnosed Corniche with schizophrenia. But for the monastery's devout priest, Father Corniche, that wasn't enough. He and numerous nuns in the convent claimed she was possessed, chained her to a cross, and gagged her with a towel, all in the hope of driving Satan out.
I giggle all the inappropriate times.
She was left in isolation for 3 whole days in a freezing cold room in the convent until she died.
For giggling.
For giggling.
Dude.
In the days that followed, a nun called the police, and Father Corniche and 4 nuns were eventually charged with imprisonment leading to death. Father Corniche was quoted as saying, "You can't take the devil out of people with pills." He was sentenced to 14 years in prison, and the monastery was shut down by the Orthodox Church. Wow. That's a zealot, is what that is.
Yeah, that's too much.
That's zealotry. Yeah, maybe she did have schizophrenia.
It said the local psychiatric hospital diagnosed Corniche with schizophrenia.
I mean,
she was schizophrenic.
Yeah.
So they still went with.
Maybe they were mad that she left. Maybe that was what they were, just mad because she giggled. But that's like, that's fucking just...
Giggled during Mass?
That's fanatic is what that is. Michael Taylor.
She stopped giggling.
Right, yeah, she stopped giggling, all right. Michael Taylor, from the English town of Ossett, was a member of the local Christian fellowship group. In 1974, Taylor started to behave oddly toward the leader of the group, Marie Robinson. He was aggressive and often angry for no apparent reason. As the months went by, Taylor finally admitted that he felt the devil inside him. Eventually, the local vicar intervened and decided to perform an exorcism on Taylor. The all-night session was thought to be a success, casting a total of 40 demons from him.
What?
Sadly, the story doesn't end there. Taylor no longer believed he was possessed, but he was convinced his 29-year-old wife was. That night, he brutally murdered her, tearing out her eyes and tongue, then ran into the street naked and covered in blood, shouting, "It is the blood of Satan." Taylor was cleared of his wife's murder by reason of insanity, but ordered to spend 2 years in Broadmoor, the high-security psychiatric hospital. What the fuck?
He tore her eyes out
and her
tongue.
Dude, what did she say that pissed him off? Ladies, this is a good reason why you should just do the dishes. All right?
Budgery. I don't think so.
If you know what's good for you.
My thought is you have to sleep sometime.
Oh, Clara Germanicele in 1906.
And you wonder why you're single.
In Ernzuto, South Africa, an odd confession was heard by Father Erasmus Horner. Clara Germanicele, a Catholic and member of the Marion Hill Mission, told Father Horner that she'd made a pact with the devil. Cole had lived in the mission since the age of 4. The father dismissed the girl's claims, but Cole soon started behaving oddly. She would rip off her clothes, growl, talk to imaginary friends using languages she'd never known before, violently fling nuns across the room, and let out terrible screams that one nun described as sounding like a veritable herd of wild beasts orchestrated by Satan. She also bit a nun, leaving behind marks similar to those of a serpent. Ho ho.
Oh.
Father Horner relented and performed an exorcism. He was successful in driving the evil spirit from Cole. The demon announced he'd leave Clara's body after levitation, and right on cue, Clara levitated and the demon departed. The demon returned in January 1907, but was driven out once more, never to return. Wow.
Wow.
Wow. Robbie Mannheim.
Cute. Look how cute he is.
That's probably not the real kid.
I know, but he's got little freckles on his nose.
He looks like a devil with little light circles in his eyes.
That's just the camera light.
I know. But he looks scary. I'm kind of scared of
he's
that child.
ginger?
Maybe. Gingers are soulless, so they can never be possessed because they're soulless. There's nothing to possess. They're just a shell.
Is that true? We should do some research on that.
I think we should.
Because I was also wondering if redheads get COVID because of our genetic
Have you gotten
mutation.
COVID yet?
No.
Then I would say no.
I'm just saying with the altered
Maybe.
genetic
Maybe.
makeup.
Maybe. You guys are aliens
So
from
they should
another
use
planet.
redheaded bloods and infect everyone with the non-COVID
With
blood.
redheadedness?
Yes.
Dude, what if you injected everybody with redheaded blood and they all became redheads?
And it just slowly started to turn.
Yeah,
Maybe that's the second coming.
maybe. The exorcism of 13-year-old Robbie Mannheim, or Roland Doe, was the inspiration for the classic movie The Exorcist. The real event took place in 1949. Robbie was supposedly possessed after using a Ouija board during the months following his aunt's death. What's a 13-year-old doing with a Ouija board?
That's the years that you buy it. You're 10 to 13. You have sleepovers, and that's what you do.
Dude, I didn't start using this shit till like 18.
No, dude. You light little candles, and you use a Ouija board when everybody's supposed to be asleep.
I never did that shit.
You're not
What
a
was
girl.
I doing
You're not
wrong?
a 13-year-old girl.
Maybe I am.
Well, maybe
Maybe
you are.
I can identify as one nowadays.
You can
ever think of
identify
that?
as one if you want to. That's most certainly legal. But you know what they also said as I was doing research?
What?
That the kids that are nondescript or he, she, or like that aren't girl or boy.
Gender dysphoria?
That are gender neutral. That they are possessed by demons. That was per the Catholic Church. They had a possession of the devil because they were confusing the children into them thinking that they
I'm
were
going to try and be nice and keep my mouth shut because I have a lot of opinions
lots
on
to
it.
say on that.
But I don't want to get anybody too mad at me.
Okay, let's move on.
After a series of unexplained, supposedly supernatural happenings, Robbie's family asked Reverend Luther Miles Schultz to observe the child. That's a cool name. Luther Miles Schultz.
I like it.
Over the period of one night, Schultz witnessed the child's bed vibrate, watched a large armchair turn on its side, and heard scratching sounds on the room's walls. He referred to the case to Father Edward Hughes, who performed an exorcism on Robbie. During the exorcism, Robbie pulled a spring from the bed, a mind-bending feat alone, and stabbed the priest with it. Hughes needed well over 100 stitches to heal the gash. He said gash. After a period of some respite, the boy underwent a second exorcism in St. Louis that lasted 6 weeks.
Wow.
According to witnesses, the bed shook and objects were thrown about the room. Eventually, Robbie came out the other end unscathed and went on to have a relatively normal life, marrying, having children, and becoming a grandfather.
Grandfather.
Well done.
It's that time. Thanks for listening.
That was very interesting.
I liked it.
And a little cray-cray.
Learned some stuff. Thanks for listening.
Don't
Hey,
get possessed, okay?
write us an email about what we had talked about. Tell us if you know any possessions or
Yeah, tell us cool stories. What's
Yeah.
the email, Dawn?
thedeadtimeradio@gmail.com.
Call us at 843-492-7966. Leave us a message. We're out of here, people. We'll see you next week. Love you.
Bye.